Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good morning. I'm sitting there and standing at the back wondering what the heck am I doing here? Because that's a tough act to follow, Dan. Where's Dan? Okay, be kind, everybody, okay? That was really good, Dan. Now, I guess I have a question to kick this off. Does anybody disagree with what Dan presented? Except for a few things, I mean, the gist of what he presented. Except for a few things like, you know, the chart where he showed the degree of disruption, digital disruption on the industry, and he had banking quite low. I actually disagree. I think it should be much higher. Where is Dan? He's gone for a break, is it? Okay. I don't want to talk behind his back. So, okay. So, I mean, other than those little stuff, the key messages, does anybody disagree? No, right? There you go. So, we all agree. Knowing, however, doesn't mean doing. So, I suppose that's why they invited me here. Okay? Because it's tough. Right? Everything that Dan was saying, I was going, check, but. Check, but. Isn't that going through your minds as well? Yeah, right? Because it's hard, right? Now, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And the problem or the opportunity is that it's crisis mode today. And so we have no choice. So we have to. And I'm told this room is full of C-suites. So here's the good or bad news. I'm emphasizing what Dan said just now. You either have to lead it or you have to enable it. You have no other choices, right? So I'm really glad you're here because your people, your teams, are on board just as you are, but they need you to allow them to be disruptive. But creative disruptive, I'd like to add another word. Creatively and positively disruptive, right? We don't want disruption for the sake of disruption. Right? So that's how I would position, you know, why I'm here, and I'm telling myself why I'm here, and so what I'm going to be covering. So I'm going to bring you guys down to the practical stuff, right? The rolling up our sleeves stuff that you and I deal with every day, right? And for that, if I may, let me kick off with two quick stories. Hopefully it's quick, okay? But anyway, someone's keeping time, right? You know, the danger of inviting me is I could speak until tomorrow. So, okay. One, and believe me, the reason why I'm telling you these stories is because it's related to the points that we're going to be discussing. So the first, as Arthur said, I'm thankful that I had the opportunity, and I think it's a fabulous opportunity. All of you should do it. Take some time out. I know it's hard. I gave excuses, you know, to Harvard AMP, so I sent all my EXCO colleagues. I was registered 5 years ago. But every year I give an excuse. I'm too busy. They need me, right? And I've got budgets and I've got lots of stuff. So I kept deferring until Harvard threatened me last year and said, no more deferment. It's either you come this year or we take you off the list. So there I was. Now, when I was there, and this is the little story, one of the good things about that program is we have plenty of invited guests, okay? People from industry, great minds, and so forth. So that morning, or that afternoon, we had the managing director, president of a financial institution, a very large financial institution. Now, in his introduction of himself, he covered a suite of things. One of the things he mentioned was, oh, by the way, we let go 10,000 people last year. And I suppose the reaction to that is supposed to be, it's a good thing. Okay? So, and another part of what he talked about is, to wrap it up, I've just been appointed chairperson of the Financial Committee of the World Economic Forum 2019. Okay? Now remember, this was autumn 2018. Now, so when it was Q&A time, I asked him a question. So I said, I put my hand up, I switched on my mic. One question I asked him, I said, thank you for the introduction, it's fabulous. By the way, Mr. So-and-so, do you know what the 10,000 people you let go are doing, how they're doing? Okay. Now, the hall is like this. You could hear a pin drop. Everybody was uncomfortable. Everybody was looking at me as if, oh my God, she's a troublemaker. What kind of a question is that? This is Harvard. Can you not have a better intelligent question? Right? Now, and Mr. X, I could see him literally struggle in front. He was totally caught by surprise by my question, and he couldn't answer. So the hall was literally quiet. And I could see the organizers, the professors and everybody, was signaling each other, trying to go, okay, next question, okay? And all he could muster, really, and I'm not making this up, I have 200 plus people in the hall as witness, and this was all he could muster. He started and said, well, we are capitalists after all. Okay? Oh, thank you. Green is forward, is it? Okay, right, so that was all. And then, of course, the organizers was going, okay, next question, right? But I refused to let go. Why? Because, I pride myself, and I work very hard. Trust me, I work very hard to make sure that my reputation is not of a troublemaker, okay? Or that I'm not part of a problem, right? I want to be part of a solution. That's been my driver since I started working. So I wasn't going to let it go like that, because it would be, what the heck, isn't it? So I said, no. I have no answer too, but if I may suggest, because that was something I'm thinking on top of my head, right? If I may suggest, would you, sir, just consider, in your capacity as the new president, or new chairman of the Financial Committee in the WEF in a few months, would you put it onto the table and just probably discuss, at the very least, within the ESG, right, report of organizations, would they consider, would you just put out a statement to encourage banks and other organizations to report how many new jobs have they actually created? And how many of the existing, so I'm talking about incumbents here. I think the majority in this room are incumbents, okay? And how many of the staff, the workforce, has been successfully reskilled and moved into the new roles? You following me? Right? At the very least, under ESG, under S, under social. Because today, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, all I can see in the S are CRs, right? The organization went to build, went to plant, right? But the workforce is society, is members of society. We let them go, they'll be out of a job, nobody's hiring, they become a problem to their family. You and I, mankind, we're in the worst form when we're hungry, and then societies get disrupted, nations get disrupted, the world gets disrupted. So why isn't that going in tandem with all these conversations about the wonders of digital disruptions and tools. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my Airbnb, I love my Grabs and stuff, right? But this has to go in tandem. These conversations about the creation has to go in tandem. So that's my first story, if you like. My second story, I love what Dan shared about his partner and the partner's nanny. Now, I have a real story myself. My hairdresser. You know, ladies and hairdressers have a special bond. Maybe men with barbers too, okay? So I've been, this lady, this hairdresser has been, you know, supporting me for many, many years. So I actually know her very well. I know her family, I know, you know, her children and so forth. So one day, and this was a few years ago, it wasn't very recent, it was a few years ago, when it was still Uber here, not yet Grab, okay? So she was upset that day, right? And I asked her, what's wrong? Sally, okay? Her name is not Sally, by the way, okay? And she said, we're having problems, my husband and I, right? And I know her husband too, okay? You know, her husband's a lorry driver. He's supposed to be employed, supposed, underscore. So he's actually a lorry driver who actually doesn't earn very much. That's why the supposed employment. What they have to do is they paid a very, very low base, which is almost inhuman, and they are then paid for every actual, you know, drive that they do per order, okay? So he and his colleagues literally park themselves in the office trying to vie for the next job in order to get money. So here's a husband that's in absentia most of the time, which I knew, okay? So Sally is actually the breadwinner, a hairstylist, doesn't earn very much, but you know, she's the breadwinner of the family, the principal and more consistent one, right? And she literally has to take care of their 5 children, right? From the littlest baby to the schooling and everything else, right? And so she was fed up. And he was having a really hard time, you know, that year, because the economy was really bad in Malaysia. So they were not getting very many drives to do. And so he was getting more and more of a bitter person, you know, and his confidence was being eroded as the man in the family, right? And these are societal expectations. By the way, men, don't worry. If your spouse, if your wife earns more, you should be happy, okay? Not upset, all right? But he was, you know, his confidence was eroding, and he was getting more and more to be a worse and worse person. And she was up to here, and they were on the verge of divorce. Now, I was getting upset because I knew her family, I know her husband, but I couldn't think of, you know, what do I say, right? Now, this is what I said to her. I said, you know what, Sally? He's a driver, right? So has he tried Uber? Okay? And this was her reaction. Uber? Oh, yeah, I heard about that. But isn't that for people who's got no jobs? Right? And I was like, yeah, but he doesn't have a job, right? And, you know, but I could see that she didn't buy the idea. Now, several visits after that, you know, I remembered and I said to her, Sally, so what happened? And she said, she was very uncomfortable because she was going to give me excuses. She said, no. You know, we asked our families, and our families said, no, he has a job. Why is he even thinking about, you know, going into this Uber thing? Plus, we don't have the car that meets their requirement. Right? They have a very old jalopy, right? Now, on the spur of the moment, I said to her, because, you know, I myself was distraught for the family. I said to her, you know what, Sally? I'm going to transfer some money to you, I said, because normally I transfer. I hope you're all M2U users. So Dan is absolutely right, okay? Banking is through your phone, right? Everything. So I said, I'm going to transfer something, all right? Go get him registered. Now, I did not say to her, you know what, I work in a bank after all, right? Why don't you apply for a loan with the bank? Because I know she won't, her application won't be approved, okay? And the interest she'll be paying is going to kill her, them, all right? So I did that. Now, to cut the story short, so I mean, it wasn't very much. I mean, just as long as you have a new small car, you can register, right? I think about 20,000 plus, right? Today, he is enjoying himself as a Grab driver, right? So he stayed until now. A few months after he signed up and started driving Uber then, he was actually earning much, much more than he ever earned having a full-time job, the full-time job, okay? On top of that, he can choose when to drive, right? So she has her husband back. Her children has their dad back. And they were better able to share their responsibilities. She wasn't carrying everything on her shoulders. Why am I sharing with you this story? Because digitalization, the current times, the tools that you and I have for the first time ever known to mankind, that's what it is. It's supposed to make our lives better. It's supposed to make us better people. It's changed her life, their lives, right? Now, was it easy? No, it wasn't. So then we can now do a debrief, right? So how are lending happening? How are people really helping the unbankables to be bankable, right? Society, how enabling are you when someone wants to disrupt, right? So, with all of that, I'm going to be coming back to this story as we move forward. For now, I think one of the reasons why Farid and Azida and the team, by the way, congratulations, Azida. I'm told you're the curator of this. It is really brilliant. I totally agree with that. Congratulations. Shall we give her a round of applause? Yeah. And her team, of course. But I think one of the reasons why you invited me is to say, so what's the industry doing after Dan's conversation, right? So, yes, quickly. The industry is doing a lot. You and I are doing a lot. Remember I said just now, capitalism? One of the things that we are doing is really soul-searching. Really, thinking about what does capitalism mean? Really, right? Now, I hope that everyone here are converted, okay? Then the conversation will be slightly easier. So how do we do it then, together? Because we're part of the ecosystem. That's the other thing I want to congratulate TM and TM1 for doing this. We are their ecosystem, right? And they're bringing us together to have these conversations because each of us have a role to play. And then there's society, there's regulators. I'm sure they're all here, right? Okay, so industry is busy redefining capitalism. Now, what does that entail? It entails, as Dan highlighted, so it's perfect. Well, Dan set a very good stage for me, right? It's talking about those quarterly results, the demand and the expectation to show year-on-year growth of double-digit, right? Cost reduction until you cut muscle, right? So, redefining capitalism. And of course, industries are redefining themselves. Any of you belong to an industry that's not affected? You're very lucky. Anyone? Okay, right? So, there you go. In banking, definitely, who needs banks? Right? You don't need banks. I don't need bank. I do banking on the go. I love it, right? So our breakfast has been eaten. Our lunch is half eaten, right? That's why it's crisis mode, right? And of course, redefining how we operate. The people, the culture, the work environment. Remember we said it's hard? It's hard because it's the people, right? It's us, it's you and I. So, this is what the industry is focusing on. We loved it. All of us would have seen this. Larry Fink's, the chairman's letter to CEOs in 2019. It's not new though, but 2019 attracted a lot of attention because the awareness is higher. Larry's message is consistent with his letter in 2018. I'm sure some of you know that, right? So absolutely, I mean, the reason why I've extracted those points is because it emphasizes, it underscores what we're supposed to be doing and looking at and trying to resolve, right? And the knowing doesn't mean doing thing. We all know that doing good makes money, right? And it's a cycle. Because when you do good, you make money, you can do more good. You don't make money, you can't do good. Isn't it? If we're not making profit, so I tell my team all the time, profit is not a bad word. Because if we don't make money, you and I can't help others. We can't even help ourselves. So yes, we must make money. But we make money with the intention, with the niyat, with the nawaitu, right, of helping others and helping ourselves. So you know, it's karma, right? And the businesses that are doing great today, as Dan highlighted, are those whose focus is actually on others. It's not on themselves. The tech giants, the trillion, dollar valued companies that I have a list for actually. Yeah, there you go, right? They're all focused on customers. They're all focused on people. They're all focused on humans, on making it easy for you and I. So we know it, right? Duh. Okay? But why is it that we're not moving, right? Okay? So, but if I go back, so the other thing is about sharing resources and collaborating. 10 years ago, we don't use the word collaborating as much as we do today, right? What did we use then? We used more of synergy, right? When you define it, that's what collaborating entails. Collaborating is the skill in order to get synergy. So you and I knew this already. But it's been, it's been an issue, it's been a problem for at least 4 decades. At least 4 decades, right? And one of the causes of that is an example that I'm going to be using a lot later. Org structures. Okay? Now you and I, business people, the smart business people, but don't worry, I've checked, as I told you. I've checked in Harvard where all the cohorts were representatives of S&P top 500. I've checked in New York because as a global HR 50 member, I've got my cohort that come from all over the world. I've checked everywhere. I've checked in Singapore, okay? We're all in the same boat. Unfortunately, that's not a good thing, okay? So org structure, what is it that we're in the same boat in? When we have silo issues, when we can't get people to collaborate, so we get synergy, the 1 + 1 = 5, right? I don't know what your indicators are. What are your indicators? Do you know? Is your 1 + 1 = 2 at least? If you are, you're one of the better ones. Because in most organizations, 1 + 1 = 1.5 at best. And those are the better companies. Okay? So, org structure. When we have those problems, the silo mentality, these people are so territorial. Familiar? What do? We restructure. So the problem to a structure is a restructure. And then there's a problem, we restructure. Right? There you go. That's what you and I do, smart people. But what does Einstein say? What a bunch of insane people. Isn't it? Right? We tweak, expecting breakthrough. So yeah, I'm part of the problem too. Yeah, I restructure too. Okay, but we've got to stop that. And current times, digital times, IR 4.0, 5.0 times, the tools are there. The answers are there. So how easy it is for us to pick it up, right? So I don't have to emphasize this, right? Dan has highlighted it, okay? He said 15 years, right? 15 years you stay in the top 10 of S&P 500. It's getting shorter. Look at that, right? 2009, 2019, right? It's getting shorter. It's not 15 anymore, okay? And look at the organizations. I said Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Berkshire Hathaway, okay, because the other four I'm sure familiar with. Berkshire Hathaway, I don't know whether you are, but you can Google, okay? So if you, it's Warren Buffett's, right? So if you read, they didn't get as much publicity as BlackRock, right? If you read Buffett's 2019 letter, chairman's letter, and his vice chairman, Michael, I think. Is it Michael? Yeah, Michael's letter for 2019, to kick off 2019, it actually reflects a mirror of what BlackRock, what Larry Fink has said. They did not say, guys, we expect double-digit growth, this ROE, da, 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 right? They talk about purpose, they talk about doing good, they talk about getting your workforce engaged, right? So what else do you and I need? Okay? So IKEA, right? IKEA. You and I know it's not the cheapest. That's what they say. The first rule is to maintain an extremely low level of prices, but, so some people conveniently take away the last part, right? But they must be lower prices with meaning. We must not compromise functionality or technical quality. That's what we mean when we say purpose, you know. We're not iffy, blue skies, all these people, they're living in a world of their own. I'm talking business here, okay? Now, I cautioned Farid and people who invited me, please don't expect me to come up here and talk about HR, okay? Because I'll be part of the problem if I do that, all right? It's just an enabler, right? So what are we doing now in terms of, trying to stay ahead, right? So these are 30 predictions from the brightest minds of finance. KPMG last year spoke to 30, right, industry movers and shakers. And you can see the full host of, different ideas and so forth. I do not agree with all of them. I agree with some of them. Why am I sharing this? Because the answer is not there, right? And because of that, you and I are supposed to be experimenting and learning. That's why we were talking about experimentation just now, right? But how many of us really are doing that, are experimenting and searching? And one of the items there that I disagree is about branches going away and, less people in financial institutions. That one I disagree, okay? Why? Because if even an individual, and that's my challenge to my workforce, our workforce of 43,000 people, right? I said, if you're generating X number of revenue per staff, right now we're about 380,000 ringgit per staff. If you're generating that much and more, why would I want to let you go? Right? Doesn't take an accountant to figure that out. So how are we helping our people to be able to generate that? What do you need? Your businesses, what do you need? You go from there, and then you figure it out, right? So I'm not going to be, I'm thankful, alhamdulillah. I'm thankful that my EXCO colleagues and I are almost thinking alike, right? Before we give up, okay? before we announce, right, that we're also cutting, we shall get them to be productive first. We shall get them to be delivering what we need first. But of course, time is running short, right? So it's not easy. But don't get me wrong again. I'm almost worried to say this, but I'm actually very good at retrenchments. Okay? I'm not proud of that. But, you know, I'm a chartered accountant by training. My first HR job, in telco actually, my first HR job, I don't know what they saw in my face, but they asked me to do a retrenchment, okay? Which is a high risk, because I'm not a HR person. I don't know labor laws that well, but it was a success. It was a success. And the people we needed to let go, it wasn't their fault. They're great people, right? They're great people. It's just that the business that they were hired for could not take off because of the Asian economic crisis then, right? So we did it well. We did it with maintaining their dignity. We placed them in jobs. We sold them well, right? And since then, I somehow got the reputation of being good at retrenchments. So I did, you know, retrenchments or VSS, whatever you want to call it, it's the same, right? Everywhere in the world even. We did it in Hong Kong, we did it in Indonesia. Now in Indonesia is where I converted, and it's related to my point here. I converted because it was just a mere numbers game, businessmen and women, all right? Because similarly, I was sent there, post-acquisition, make this organization productive, Nora and team. What is that lingo in business? Make the business productive. Let people go. Okay? Now, I'm taking this stage to provoke you. All right? It's easy. Letting people go can be done by mediocre managers, not fabulous leaders. Right? So, now, how did I get converted? Because I was told 3,000. You let go 3,000, you do a great job. You go on to your next role. We celebrate you. But it was just 3,000 people who are earning at that time. That year, when I was there, Indonesia did not have minimum wage yet. Right? They do now, of course. And so the people that we were targeting, the executives, they were earning what? A majority of them were about 1.8 million rupiah. Base. 1.8 million rupiah. How much is that? 300 ringgit? 400 ringgit at most? 400 plus? Right. 100 US dollars, sir. How could you? And they really needed the job. And I was on expat package. And there are other expatriates in Indonesia. So my message back to HQ was, hey, you know what? I'm not doing this. Take me and the other expats back. We'll get much more than what we would get from the 3,000 reduction. Okay? So I converted then. And I have been on this crusade, if you like. Okay? But don't get me wrong, I'm not a nun or a priest or, yeah? I still make money. Hopefully my board agrees with that. Okay? So I make money, but we want to make it with purpose, right? With a conscience. Okay. So people culture, and I had to add performance, right? You gave me people culture. Now, it's not easy, but we have done a whole host of things just to give you a flavor of what needs to be done, right? For example, you know my story just now about Sally, okay? Why do we keep talking only about how many jobs are you creating, right? And how many jobs are you cutting at the same time? Okay, we decide, okay? And then we talk about minimum wage. Now, here's the equation. When I talk to CEOs, owners of small and medium enterprises, None of them. They're great people. None of them would disagree to paying a minimum wage that is higher than today. But Nora, they say, okay, my business will go bankrupt. Right? So I want to do it. If I can, I want to do it. So help me. Right? So that's the answer. How do we bring our small, and that's humanizing financial services from the heart of societies. Okay? That's Maybank's mission, by the way. I'm here on Maybank's time, so I will do a lot of advertisements. Okay, so yeah. In fact, someone asked me if I could come in and help advise, okay, in the minimum wage problem. And that's exactly what I said as well. I can only help if you don't work in silo. So silos and org structure issues and territorial stuff, it's not just in business entities, yeah? It's also within regulators or government or anywhere else. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Okay? So I said, I can only be of any help if you guys are willing to work together. Because the small businesses want to pay minimum wage, higher minimum wage. But someone's got to help them. So it's EPU, it's Ministry of Finance, whatever, right? It's not a Ministry of Human Resources issue only, right? So everybody's got to come together because you need to build the small businesses in order for them to be profitable enough to pay the people, and the people are happy, it becomes productive, innovative, and so forth, and the cycle comes back. Now, everybody says that's too hard. That's too hard. But the longer we go with, half-baked solutions, we're going to be all running on the spot. Now, I'm not sure, of course, I can see this gentleman here, but I'm not sure how many non-Malaysians are here. So this is family talk, huh? Okay? I was talking to a senior venture capitalist in Singapore, and he said, you know what, Nora? You guys better be careful, you better work harder. And I said, why? He says, well, we rank in terms of innovation. ASEAN countries, we rank you number 9. And number 10 is Thailand. So we are considered even behind Vietnam and Cambodia, who came from nowhere, right? And they're hungry and they want to do it. Okay? So the point of all of that is one of the experiments that we're doing, and whenever I talk about this, please don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about it with arrogance, okay? I am sweating. Anybody want to audit? You can come here and audit my palm, okay? I sweat every time I talk about it, okay? Because of course there are risks. But leaders, you're supposed to be risk takers. That's why you're given the title, okay? But, of course you have to be calculated risks, and you know what the risks are and you mitigate, right? But Maybank, we allow our people. Anyone from Benegara? Benegara said okay, by the way. Okay. We allow our people to have dual income. Of course, we don't have anybody at minimum wage. Even then, right, as Benegara said, right, you need a 4,500 minimum. And then MEF screams, right? Family with 2 children, you need 6,500 per household. Who's paying that? Especially for a fresh grad, right? So we allow our people, as long as they declare, and my industrial relations team will do a conflict of interest check. We have many of our people who've converted, who've flexed. So we have about 4,000 people now who are on flex. And I tell you, they are more productive than they ever were when they were zombies. Coming into work at 7 a.m., going back at 11 p.m., right? They were zombies. Customers were unhappy. Everybody was unhappy. Now, this is a real thing, yeah? I actually bumped into this gentleman who takes my lift, because there are many lifts in Nora Maybank, for those of you who are familiar, okay? He takes the same lift with me. I hardly notice him. And then one day, the lift door opened, and there he was. And you know, this was the reaction I had in my mind. Handsome, didn't he? Do you need a translation? Subtitles down there. Okay? So when I stepped in and then he started talking to me, then I realized, and he said, Puan, you signed my letter. So he's actually one of those who had converted to a 3-day work week. Right? And in his free time, he's actually a freelance writer. Right? No conflict of interest at all. All right? So he's happy, and that's why before that, I mean, I never noticed him, you know, really. Maybe his hair was all over the place and his collar was not right, and you know, he was just a zombie coming to work. But with the flags, physically he changed, and I quickly checked. He's productive, people want him. Department sectors, managers were asking whether he's free, and everybody was saying, hey, it's up to him, because he had flexed to a 3-day work week. Okay? So that's one of the policies reimagined that we're talking about. But is it easy? Was it easy? It's hard. It's hard. Right? Because of society, because of norms, because of the obvious that you and I are more comfortable with. Another example is something that I had to work with my SME business. Okay? So this is a supposed non-performer. Okay, so I have a team that's called the Maybank Go Ahead, Take Charge. Okay, because we want to liberate our people to take care of themselves. Because I don't know when we actually may have to cut our workforce, let's say. I want them to be independent. I want them to be able to earn, right? So we have this project, right? So this particular person was speaking to one of my team members who's in charge of doing the take charge, right? And in the conversation, because this is bespoke times, huh? By the way, I wanted to share this with you. What are we talking about really, right? Context is important, huh? So 5.0 is personalization. Please, those who don't know, okay? It's not about standardization. It's not about the tools that we had in 2.0 and 3.0. Okay? All the tools that you and I are using, I know that for sure because I'm an adjunct professor. I check the curriculums in universities, right? It's still being taught, the old stuff that is no longer workable today. Okay? So, for this particular gentleman, in that conversation, my team member then came to tell me, hey, you know what, Puan? He said, this guy, Ali, he has a plot of land in Kedah, right, that he inherited. And it's just idle, laying idle, and he's not doing anything because he's busy being a banker. He actually doesn't enjoy being a banker. Many of us, okay, we are where we are because of society, because of what our parents expected us to be, right? When you graduate, you have to find a job. If you don't have a job, you're not good, right? But nowadays, I mean, when our children want to bring prospective spouses, what's our first question? Kerja apa? Yeah. It's time we really say to us, ourselves, and say, you know, kerja won't make you rich. Berniaga will make you rich. Is it? No job, huh? Or you start something in your garage, all right? So anyway, no, but this is not small talk. This is what you and I have to deal with in order for us to make the changes in the organization, right? Because these are interdependencies. So this Ali, okay, that was a light bulb, okay? Today, to cut the story short, oh no, I have to tell you one other part. To get Ali off the ground, all right, I had to convince our SME business to take on this challenge. Today they're totally convinced, of course, right? But this was in the early days. I said to them, let's say, Tan, all right? Tan, help me. We want to turn this staff into a customer. Don't you like that? You're responsible for the business? So help me. So today, Ali is a successful chili grower. His land is now a chili farm. And you know what we found out? I became educated in that process. I know that chili is very expensive, okay? And that in order for you to sell chili, you have to belong to the cartel Did you know that? I didn't know we have mafias in Malaysia. Okay. So anyway, right? So that's something I learned. So he's successful. Now he is in my database for gig workforce, right? Because he's got banking skills, he's got credit skills, right? Whenever I need. But putting him off on his own, and he's doing great, he's earning more than he ever earned right before, is one less headache for me, just in case I need to take out one headcount. Okay? So that's why we do all of this, all right? So there are many other policies which I think I don't have time for, because it's minus 43 now. Oh, God. But let me leave these two with you, okay? In terms of redefining the, by the way, I am definitely talking culture, just in case you're wondering. Please Google. What does culture mean? It's language even, right? It's the common language, it's the common expectations, it's the common mindsets, and that's culture. That's what you and I are supposed to curate in order for us to then be able to do the sexy stuff that we talked about in the first hour today. All right? So plenty that we're doing. We don't have a choice. By the way, I don't have a choice to do one thing at a time. Those days are gone. The days of getting economies of scale as the primary objective and challenge is gone. Economies of scale is a given today. I hope you know what I mean. Right? If I want scale, I want to put out a message. I know for a fact, as long as I make it controversial and sexy, I can get 1.5 million in 10 minutes, as in likes. Isn't it? There you go. I can get economies of scale. Businesses that are trillion and above are all people who've just rode the wave of economies of scale that the internet has provided. But that's a given, guys. Okay? So here, if you're interested, I need another half a day, I think, right, to go through everything. But creating the language, I'm sure you read, hopefully you read, all right? Early last year, we launched our Maybank Future Ready program. We committed 100 million ringgit to that program so that our people speak the same language, that's culture building, all right? Everybody needed to be brought to the minimum level of digital literacy. Otherwise, tak kenal maka tak cinta. Or, worse still, you are very suspicious of something you don't know, right? You have to understand what machine learning is all about. You have to understand, right, how to use it. So until today, since the launch last year, we've embarked on Future Ready 2.0 by the way. Every week, we send out our future bites, whatever's happening out there, right? So people now are able to have a conversation, right, in a more learned manner. So we've done plenty of things that hopefully prepares people to be better able to truly experiment, to truly do different things. Now, I cannot not finish by underscoring how hard it is, okay? Now, and here I'm going to be a bit more provocative. Again, I'm checking whether Bank Negara is here. Now, there are things I do I don't ask permission for. But I am blessed, alhamdulillah, thank God, all my career actually. I am blessed by having people who look out for me, who understand my intention, and who then give me some cover. Okay? And that's what you need to know and you need to do. Because we agreed earlier, it's not easy to do all of this. If I go to a board, not my board, a board, all right? My board's very supportive, by the way, okay? 10 people, when it's people-related, workplace-related, you know, I always tell my CFO, and I'm an accountant, so I know I'm qualified to say this. So I jest with him and I say, you know, you've got an easier job. You go in and you present your numbers, nobody's going to shoot you, right? Black means black, profit means profit, loss means loss. When I go in and I start talking about this person's a talent, I have 5 people trying to prove me wrong. Isn't it? Right? Cannot be, Nora. He doesn't have the confidence. You know, so when I went in and wanted to do work from home, this was way back in 2009 when I first joined Maybank. They looked at me and they said, she's crazy. We are already not productive enough. We are having problems. Our year-on-year growth is single digit from double digit many years ago. Customers are saying we are arrogant and complacent. Employer brand league tables, we are, at the bottom. And here she says work from home. Okay? So it's not easy, let me tell you. But by the way, I did get it through. Thank you to that time my president was Tan Sri Wahid, right? Tan Sri Wahid. He didn't agree on the policy. But when I was pushing this case, he agreed. What case was that? I had a talent. All right? I know he's a talent. I signed, resignation acceptance letters. So I was like, why is he resigning, this guy? I happen to know him, right? So I called him in, and he said, Puan, thank you. I'm very thankful to Maybank. But something you may not know, I have a daughter, we have a child with Down syndrome. Okay? And that was just after Raya, and says, my helper went home and didn't come back. And we have, elderly parents who needs care, and their helpers didn't come back either. So we are in a dilemma right now. My wife and I, we discussed. My wife is in a better position in her job. So he's a he, by the way. So I've decided I will stay home. Okay? So I said, no way, Jose. I'm not letting you go, right? So I said, no, you work from home. Every Friday, when you have some time, check in with us. And I then went to see Tan Sri Wahid, and I said, I know we don't have this policy, but I'm going to let this guy work from home. Are you with me? And he said, whatever, okay lah. Okay? So, not easy. But that's what you and I are supposed to do. Whatever we want to do, there aren't people going to be clapping and applauding you and saying, hero, right? Well, we wish there will be, so that, I wish you well. But even when it's hard, you still need to do it. You still need to find a way. The current chairman, Datuk Mohayani, said the same thing to me. There was one other policy which I don't have time to tell you too much about, but you can find out later. I pushed it through, and she said, one day I was chatting with her, and she said, Nora, you didn't ask for permission, kan? I said, no. And she said, you can ask her. Huh? She said, yeah, it's okay lah, just do it lah. Okay? So, she's a wise person. She's a wise leader. Know when to make your call. Know when to provide air cover, right? Of course, if I had bad intentions, she wouldn't be doing that. But for the right reasons, you do have to put your neck out and make sure that things get done. So, handrails, tools, boosters, you name it. Now, I'm happy, as part of the ecosystem, I'll be happy to have further conversations with you. You can reach me on any of these. Please don't tweet me, but, you can if you want to, all right? But we're part of the ecosystem that needs to really make the changes and not just talk about it. So if I may end with maybe what Mark Twain said, one of the things he said, right? And this is what he said: the secret of getting ahead, and we all hold our breath, isn't it? The secret of getting ahead is starting. Thank you.